Hi everyone, today I'm here to introduce one of the best and most iconic science fiction film, Shin Godzilla. It is a 2016 Japanese kaiju film directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. While Anno served as the chief director and in charge of the screenplay of the movie, Higuchi directed and coordinated with special effects. Does the name Hideaki Anno sound familiar to you? Yes, he's the director of the highly popular sci-fi mecha anime Neon Genesis Evangelion. Before we get into the synopsis and analysis of Shin Godzilla, we should know why the film is regarded as a sci-fi movie. As I mentioned, Shin Godzilla is a kaiju movie. The term kaiju is translated into strange beasts and also referred to giant monsters themselves. Therefore, Shin Godzilla is a giant monster film. It can be classified as a mutant, an alien, or a dystopian film as well. So, what is Shin Godzilla all about? Is it just a silly monster movie which consists of cheesy action and comedy like the previous Japanese Godzilla movies people may have recognized? Well, it is not. The story starts with the Japan Coast Guard investigates an abandoned yacht in Tokyo Bay, and suddenly the water erupts from the sea. The Tokyo Bay aqualine is flooded by red liquid. The Japanese government concluded that the incident was due to an underwater volcanic eruption. But the Assistant Cabinet Secretary Rando Yaguchi proposed that it was caused by a living creature. His colleagues turned down his suggestions until new reports show a massive tail emerging from the ocean. Shortly after, the creature made a landfall and crossed through the Kamata district of Tokyo. The creature left a path of destruction and numerous casualties, and evolved into the bipedal red skin form before it began to overheat and returned to the sea. The research group of the government then found that the creature was mutated by nuclear fission and was named Godzilla after Professor Maki's research. Moments later, Godzilla reappeared into a new form, twice its original size, surfaced in Kamakura. The government delivered the Japan Self-Defense Forces to attack it, but none of the weapons has caused any injury to Godzilla, as it continued to head north towards Tokyo. With the Prime Minister's approval, the USA sent 2 B-2 bombers to drop MOP bunker buster bombs on Godzilla that only slightly wounded it. Godzilla recovered quickly and responded with high destructive atomic rays fired from its mouth and dorsal plates, hit and destroyed the helicopter carrying the top government officials, and all of the B-2s, as well as devastating and irradiating large swaths of Tokyo. After expending such huge amounts of energy, Godzilla entered a state of hibernation. The protagonist Yaguchi and some other low-ranking officials had managed to survive in the destruction. Yaguchi's team discovered that Godzilla's plates and blood work as a cooling system and theorized that they could use a coagulating agent to freeze it. After analyzing tissue samples, they find that Godzilla is an ever-evolving creature, able to reproduce asexually. The United Nations, aware of this, informed Japan that thermonuclear weapons will be used against Godzilla since the Japanese failed to subdue it on their own in a few days. Evacuations are ordered in multiple prefectures in preparation for the nuclear attack. Unwilling to see nuclear weapons detonated in Japan again, the U.S. Special Envoy Kayako Ann Patterson uses her political connections to buy time for Yaguchi's team. Yaguchi's team adjusted their plan and procured the means to conduct the deep freeze plan with international support. Mere hours before the planned nuclear attack, Japan annexed the deep freeze plan. Godzilla is provoked into expanding its atomic breath and energy against American drones. The team then detonated explosives in nearby buildings and in trains sent towards Godzilla's feet, knocking the monster down and give tankers full of coagulant an opportunity to inject it into Godzilla's mouth. Godzilla was frozen solid in time. That made the international community call off the nuclear attack. In the aftermath, it was discovered that the Godzilla fallout had a very short half-life, and that Tokyo can soon be reconstructed. So, let's move on to the analysis of this film. Shin Godzilla is one of the most unique kaiju films I have ever seen. It's not only a sci-fi monster movie, but rather a political film of Japan. Through long history, Godzilla is always associated with the concept of Japan's fear of war and atomic power after the Second World War. In fact, this film is faithful to the concept, but it puts it in a modern-day context. The film explores the current fear of nuclear and natural disaster. It additionally reflects and criticizes the government's incompetency and global politics. On the nuclear and natural disaster side, it was inspired by the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, the resulting tsunami, and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. In some scenes of Shin Godzilla surfacing on Tokyo, we can easily see most of them were mirroring the images of 2011 tsunami's destructions and the resulting flood. I remember when I saw those scenes for the first time, I immediately recalled the day when I was watching the news provided by NHK in the morning. I saw villages in Japan was flooded by the magnitude 9.0 earthquake and tsunami. In the scene of Shin Godzilla releasing its atomic breath in Tokyo, the area is contaminated with the radiation. That also reflects the Fukushima nuclear power plant meltdown. On the political side, we can see most of the time throughout the film, the story focuses on the reaction of the Japanese government and its politicians to the disaster. The director may want to imply the issue of gerontocracy and the bureaucracy in Japan. As we see in the movie, most politicians and high-ranking government officials, including the Prime Minister, were aged people and conservative that cages them and slows the government's response to the disaster. They are described as incompetent and overwhelmed to deal with Godzilla, even they are sympathetic and aim to work for the good for Japan. In the later night scene of Godzilla showing his final form and destroying the city with its destructive atomic rays, the helicopter which carries the top government officials and the Prime Minister are wiped out during the attack. That scene may suggest the desire of Japanese people wanting to get rid of the current political environment. The film does not only point out the issue of gerontocracy and the bureaucracy, but also suggests solutions. In the film, Yaguchi's team are formed by a younger generation of low-level officials who are a bunch of freaks, nerds, and rule breakers. In the end, they are the people who saved Japan from Godzilla's attack. From this point of view, the director may want to signify that the young generations who have more potentials should take place to current government. The movie, in all, is a unique Godzilla movie in Japan. It is perhaps better, or even the best Godzilla movie of all time in my opinion. Although it does not have the best CGI comparing to Hollywood versions made recently, the sophisticated message of political commentary in this movie outstands itself. It's familiar, but also fresh, that liberates from other Godzilla movies chain.